yet, right?
No, not yet.
Okay, because I had somebody email me about that, and I gave them the link to the website, and I said there will be a YouTube link to click on once the live stream is started.
Right. Yeah, I'm not posting it just yet.
Okay.
Once we're finished it, and it won't be that much longer. There's only a couple other things I have to do before we're like,
Done.
done testing everything.
Okay.
So I'll probably be posting the link to the actual live stream probably around like 9:45, 10. Or 9:45, 9:50, not right at 10. That's, cutting it too close.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so yep, live stream is started. Let me get the link out to people. I'll just email it.
Okay. That's the direct link.
Correct. That's the direct link to the live stream.
Okay. I probably am not going to be sharing that with anybody because they already have the link to the BOR website.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so my sister was texting me last night, and her oldest moved into like a house, and they wanted to decorate it, so they took all their pets and posed them with favorite drinks. So this is technically her younger sister's dog, Ollie.
Turn that down a little bit.
Mom and Dad, Starts talking.
They won't know what it is.
Yeah.
If you want more, I say.
This one.
No, that's bad.
I mean, it's I mean,
It's a peach.
we all knew it was, that's all. Yes, yeah,
And they're a while.
for sure. We need to make sure we're sitting together.
I put y'all together.
You're wonderful, thank you, Jan, thank you, you're welcome. The medicine is on,
Let's get up.
we can give you like.
A Sharpie?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it had been
I'll put that down.
about 2 days ago.
They put on a great show. My wife tennis tournament.
They are all sorts of different.
Friday night. Saturday. I'm gonna use it. I thought maybe I didn't know. Yeah, I think. Get moving now.
I'm not ready for this. That's why.
Come to me, they come. Every piece. So. So. Yes. Oh, yeah. So are you doing that in as the moves and they range with Haley? The press or printed out in the city. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a couple of times I did that.
Yeah.
Very good. How are you?
He'll be sitting on first interview practice, you know, so he's coming in to tell us that we. How we doing?
We did very well. We've always been a good.
I don't. Willow's school forward. Oh, we're by to. Yes, I'm thrilled to be. So much. Thrilled to be.
Sure.
Oh, yes. It's not an influence. I think
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. So happy to have all of you with us. I'm the Honorary Commissioner of Higher Education. Very happy to call to order the fourth quarter LaSTEM Advisory Council meeting, November 5th, 10:01 a.m. We have a robust agenda and such a great attendance today. So thank you with your busy schedules for continuing to be a part of this. I'll ask Jennifer to call the roll, get us started.
Thank you, Dr. Reed. Ms. Tanisha Kinpulumi. Mr. Blake Berticelli Booth. Mr. Mark Bond.
Here.
Mr. Larry Carter Jr.
Here.
Dr. Suresh Guru.
Present.
Ms. Robin Kazinza. Here. Ms. Cassie Cusack.
Here.
Ms. Emily DePalma.
Oh, probably.
You see me.
Corey Williams.
Thank you. Ms. Crystal Gordon. Ms. Camille Ivy O'Donnell Benton. Dr. David LaFarge.
Present.
Ms. Taya Lupe. Dr. Calvin Mackey.
Present. Orange Jackson Ross.
Dr. Leland Martin.
Present. Flossie and Walker.
Ms. Jean May Brett. Present. Dr. Francesca Million Williams. Ms. Jamie Nixon.
Here.
Senator Beth Mizell. Mr. Ronnie Morris.
Here.
Dr. Frank Newbrander.
Present.
Dr. Wendy Palermo. Proxy Martin Moore. Yes, Dr. Kim Hunter Reed. Present. Representative, Vincent Hengwa. Mr. David St. Etienne. Ms. Jolynn Stein. Ms. Kristen Timmons.
Flossie. Present.
Mr. Rich Bath. Ms. Sarah Wolf. And Mr. Tom Mura. Madam Chair, we have a quorum.
All right, thank you so much. Okay, so we'll move to approval of the third quarter meeting minutes, which are in your folder and were sent to you in advance as well. And so very happy to entertain a motion to approve. David, in second. Is there any opposition or any edits or questions? If not, motion passes. All right, we are very excited about the cross collaboration that we've been doing this work and really appreciate the efforts to continue to move this one forward on behalf of the state of Louisiana and our regions across the state as well. As I say hello to Robin, who I saw yesterday in Alexandria, as we are always on the road. And it's great to see the partners who are moving about the state. As you all know, the strength of this work is the work that is happening in the communities on behalf of students and families and how we connect education to employment to make sure that our state prospers. So very happy to ask Jennifer to introduce our speakers to talk a little bit more about this cross-agency collaboration and our next iteration of this work.
Joining us today from the Board of Regents is Ms. Carrie Robeson, Deputy Commissioner for Research and Sponsored Initiatives. From the Louisiana Department of Education, we have Jamie Mixon, Computer Science and STEM Supervisor. And from Louisiana Works, we are delighted to welcome Osmar Padilla, Assistant Secretary. And Carrie, I will turn it over to you.
Before Carrie does that, let me also welcome our secretary, Madam Secretary, Susie Shawan as well for FMLA Works. So we double teamed over here. And excited always to welcome Susie. As you all know, Susie and I have been partners in this work because she worked at LCTCS and she worked with the Department of Economic Development.
Yes.
And so just a longtime champion of great things in our state. So we're happy to have Osmar and Madam Secretary with us this morning.
And I just want to add that we recently promoted as our Deputy Secretary as of Monday.
And this will stand corrected. No.
All right, I am very excited. I want to reiterate Dr. Reed's excitement to talk a little bit today about the future of LaSTEM and of the regional centers as we move into the next designation cycle. As you know, we do 3-year designation cycles. The RFA will come up as the next agenda item after this one. So it is great to be able to talk about the future of an organization that has done so much for Louisiana over its 8 years of existence. As all of you, I'm sure, remember, LaSTEM has always been conceived. It was in fact conceived in statute as a full STEM pipeline initiative. It is supposed to go as our former director, Dr. Clint Pullman, always said, from K to grade. Our activities are supposed to stretch from the earliest students all the way to upskilling and reskilling adults and beyond. The regional centers have done a remarkable job over 6 years in engaging with this mission, and we see what we're going to talk about today as really the next phase of the work and enabling them to build on the incredible foundations that they've already laid. So what we did this fall was, and over the summer, was to convene the 3 agencies that really represent the full breadth of the work of LaSTEM, that's LDOE, Louisiana Works, and the Board of Regents, to talk about how best to position LaSTEM to meet the needs of both our economy and the priorities of the state in terms of the development of marketable skills, in terms of career preparation and real world learning, particularly in the context of the explosive growth that Louisiana has seen in its economy over the last couple of years. So we have met collaboratively, we have worked collaboratively on this plan to move LaSTEM forward. And we've talked about maintaining the tri-agency partnership while moving LaSTEM to a different administrative model. So I am excited to announce that Louisiana Works, starting January 1st, will take on the administrative leadership of LaSTEM, with LDOE and Board of Regents continuing to serve as their strong partners in the work and to be continually engaged in the work of LaSTEM. If you've read through the draft RFA, which is the next agenda item, you'll see that LA Works has set forth a vision for the centers to build on their foundations laid over the past 6 years to embed opportunity, access, and skill development in everything they're doing and everything that the agency leadership is doing. This is a wonderful move for LaSTEM. It really helps move us into a second phase and to build on the work that's already been done to engage more directly with our employers, with our workforce development, to build on the accountability system that LDOE has set forth, to build on the work that Regents is doing, and to contribute to the prosperity of Louisiana going forward. I would like now to ask Jamie Mixon to say a few words about LDOE's participation in the process.
Sure. So, and I'll just echo some of the things that Carrie mentioned. This is a very natural progression of the work. Over the past, I would say 3 years or so, I've worked really closely with the LaSTEM directors. Our team has been able to engage in some very collaborative works, including the definition of STEM, which we all adopted as the council. We've had some key projects such as Energize, Ignite, and again, just been able to move the work forward through that collaborative relationship and the regional centers being positioned across the state. So as Carrie mentioned, the new accountability system, there is greater emphasis on those industry connections and work-based learning. And so this is a very natural progression of the work. We have a solid K-12 foundation for STEM education, some solid programs there, and now we're moving into that next phase of the work. So we're very excited to support this and continue to collaborate with you all and be part of the council to support this work. And so now to speak more, I'll turn it over to Osman.
Yeah, thank you. And I can't, it's hard to follow it up and obviously echo the excitement that we have at Louisiana Works for taking on this work. We've been working collaboratively, like Carrie mentioned, really since the summer, on the RFA and kind of all this work, and it's genuinely been collaborative. It's been really wonderful. I'm really excited to continue that work as this progresses. And so, not sure if there's a clicker or something around here, but I did kind of put together the brief slides, and then folks have a couple of questions and kind of things that they kind of bubbled up and would love to kind of talk through, you know, our vision for this work, obviously where we would love your input as this kind of work is used. And so I do want to mention that one thing. So for those that are unfamiliar, Louisiana Works, we're the artist formerly known as Louisiana Works. I know that not everybody knows that. So as of October 1, we are now Louisiana Works. There's some agency organization that we could maybe kind of talk through here in a little bit. But I guess I just briefly want to kind of highlight, you know, why we think that LaSTEM matters in this work, why it matters for the future, why it matters for work and opportunity, and why, again, we're excited to really work into the next phase of LaSTEM. In terms of why it matters for today's future, I feel like I'm a bit preaching to the choir, but frankly, STEM is at the heart of our city's economy, right? When you look at even just the economic development, right, that we've had the last, say, 2 years, maybe even prior to that, right? At the heart of all that is STEM, whether it's very specific occupational pathways and careers that are going to be catalyzed through that work, to the second and third order jobs that are going to come. Right? Everything that we do in our state when it comes to competitiveness really STEM sits at the heart of that. So obviously very much excited to align all that, working with partners across the state to ensure that STEM and that the STEM regional centers can be really a catalytic force for economic competitiveness and workforce development for our state. So I won't spend too much time here. I know, again, I'm kind of preaching to the choir when it comes to why this work matters for our state. But in particular, for learning and work, as Carrie and Jamie kind of mentioned, right, we really see this, the work, the foundation that's been built over the last 6 to 8 years as a way to really kind of accelerate how we can provide opportunity for all of our state, right? I think LaSTEM has built a really, really good foundation of K-12 awareness and how can we get that kind of upstream part of the talent pathway interested in this work. And now it's also an important moment in time, I think, in our state, where how do we get, again, opportunity for everyone, all ages, all elements of the workforce system in our state. And so, making sure that LaSTEM continues to be a bridge across education and training career opportunities, and making sure that, again, we're linking the holistic view of the workforce ecosystem, from education to workforce to industry to support the state's long-term growth. And really, it's kind of a pathway, right? You've got education and training, you've got employment, and then obviously greater opportunities for our people. As I mentioned, right, Louisiana Works as of October 1, but as part of the process, right, we have also kind of delineated some priorities for our agency, some broad umbrellas around what we're trying to rally our work around. And three of them that I really want to kind of mention is, well, the first rather is qualified workforce, right? We see Louisiana Works, our work, everything that we're doing is trying to build a qualified workforce for our state, right? Whether that means immediate needs, medium-term needs, or long-term needs. So obviously the LaSTEM centers and the work that LaSTEM does, very critical to that work, making sure, again, that we're building pathways for our future workforce, our current workforce, and our medium-term workforce, right? And so that's the direction we very much want to move and work together to get to LaSTEM, so that, again, across the state, the STEM centers are seen as that kind of, again, catalytic force for a qualified workforce for our state. Secondly is the American dream. So we deeply believe at Louisiana Works that we need to create pathways for our people to achieve the American dream, right? Through economic mobility pathways, through economic independence pathways. And so everything that we're doing is aligned to that work. And again, at the heart of it, can and should be the work that's happening at the STEM centers and this council, so that all individuals, right, no matter what ages, no matter what stage of life they're in, they can see this and they can use this to take that next step, right, and to, again, achieve a pathway to the American dream, and to economic opportunity that we want for our people. And the last thing I'll mention is an integrated system, right? I think all of us in the room can attest to the fact that I think it's not a specific Louisiana issue, but just a national issue that folks have had really great ideas, and a lot of times you start rowing in a good direction, it's not always coordinated, right? So we very much want to make sure that LaSTEM is coordinated with all of the other priorities in Louisiana and the work that we're doing at LA Works, but not just for us, for LDOE, for Regents, for LA Fast Start, and for the other partners around the state, so that, again, we're rowing in the same direction as it relates to workforce development in our state. And so this is probably the slide that folks have probably the most questions about, right? And so what does that really mean? Because everything I just said sounds great. How do we actually get there, right? And so the RFA, if anyone's had a chance to kind of review that, lays out some pretty good kind of specifics into what some of the changes we're looking for in the next designation cycle. But three that I want to call attention to, and obviously if we have time for questions and what I can certainly talk through this after we wrap up. But the first being, we've kind of been hitting on it already, but the expanded scope across the world, right? Making sure that every region, every regional center has priorities, has projects, has initiatives that focus across the entire continuum, right? From early learning to adult upskilling and career transitions, right? Now that's going to look different, right, in every region, depending on what those needs might be. But ultimately, again, ensuring that the work that the centers do is I keep using the word catalytic because I genuinely believe that's what they do, the work that they do will continue to do. But the whole breadth of the workforce system, the workforce needs across a particular region, really being the hub of that and STEM needs in every region of the state, right? And making sure that we're connecting students, educators, workers, the whole workforce ecosystem to career opportunities in high demand and high wage occupations and sectors. The second piece I want to call attention to is this idea of a regional needs assessment. I mentioned the fact that in every region it's going to be a little different. And I think the best way to do that is for every regional center to take that first year really to kind of figure out what are the gaps in every particular region. What is the true landscape of STEM needs in every region, and then using that to inform implementation in the second and third years of designation, right? It's not a very clear cut of year one you plan, and then year 2, 3 you do. It's kind of an ongoing thing, right? But in general, we do anticipate working with all the centers that are subsequently designated to complete regional needs assessments, so that you kind of need a plan about what you're doing, and then from there you kind of work on it, right, to implement it. And then the last thing I'll mention is our updated performance metrics. I know that we've worked a little bit with Department of Ed and Board of Regents on some of the performance metrics that kind of have been tracked in the past. We're really going to focus on outcomes, right? Jamie mentioned the importance of work-based learning opportunities and how that's both from an accountability perspective as Department of Ed, a key area of importance, but just broadly for the state. It is an area of interest, of growth opportunity for the state. And so we want to make sure that the STEM centers are plugged into that work and going to help the state, meet obviously that vision of broad work-based learning opportunities for all of our people in every corner of Louisiana. The second is the evidence of improved learner outcomes, right? So we want to be tracking the work that's really happening, right? If we're doing events, if we're doing projects, if we're doing initiatives, what are the outcomes? How are we helping anyone from secondary on up or even before, right? How do we help them position their career pathways in a better place because they were able to engage with STEM centers, right? So everything from skill gains, credentials of value, employment, career advancement opportunities are all things we're going to be looking for as we kind of move forward over the next few years. And the last I'll mention are employer engagement outcomes, right? I think that we all do a really good job of pulling people together, talking to employers. But what's the outcome of that work, right? What does that mean to? What are the partnerships, the sponsorships, the curriculum alignment, things like that? So again, very much focused on the work that's happening, but also the outcomes, right, of the work, how we're tracking that. And we want to tell the story of the centers and the work that's happening. And I think if we get really laser focused on the metrics that we can then point to, I think that tells a very, very compelling story to the stakeholders that we want to know the story of LaSTEM. About the impactful work that's happening across the state. And so we really kind of want to hone in on those performance metrics. And then this last slide, you're just wrapping up, kind of looking ahead here. So I kind of outlined all the goals, but just to underscore some of them, strengthening the collaboration. And again, I think that work is already happening. We just want to help continue to push that work, make some of those connections that may not already be there, and help make those happen. Through our network as well as with our partner sister agencies, expanding LaSTEM across the entire workforce development continuum, focusing on the outcomes and measurable results, and again, just kind of a coordinated network of here's the direction we want to go. We're all going to be rowing in that direction, right, for the betterment of our state. So, the quick things about the RFA. It launches today. It'll be due January 2nd of early January of next year. We're planning, I think, to announce designations in February. July will be the CEA process when that starts, and then, as I mentioned, the regional. So all this is actually live as of this morning on elworks.net/LaSTEM. Please do not judge us for our website. It is not. We understand it's we're working on it. So please don't judge us, but we wanted to make sure that there was a landing page, that the RFA, that the application, all of that was somewhere that was we want to. So it is all now, as of this morning, available on elworks.net/LaSTEM. So with that, that's all that I have. Happy to answer questions. Kind of thought that that's an appropriate time to do that at this point.
Secretary, want to add? I think all I really want to add is, once upon a time, when I was with Louisiana Economic Development, I was the first chair of LaSTEM, immediately after its inception. And so I do want to assure everybody of my deep emotional connection to this work. This is something that we as LA Works and I as the secretary really want. And we're really excited about the opportunity to work with the STEM centers and move this in an expanded direction. And again, building on the truly excellent work that has been done over the last many years. I also do want to let the current STEM center leadership know that we are here to work with you. Like, this is not throwing something at you. This is collaborative. We are very collaborative. And we want this to be very much an open door in terms of communication. So I want y'all to feel, yeah, I know many of you, but I want y'all to feel very welcome to our family, and that we're looking forward to working with you closely.
Those are my ready for questions. Go ahead, sir. Yeah, so really excited about the concept, and I appreciate that there's a new administration. You guys have like an org chart or something that identifies the structure, and can you help us with roles and responsibilities for this new administration? That's question number one. I only have two questions. Then my second question is, could you follow up with some comment about section C, number 2, regional FIM centers with regard to the funding, the whole bond. Those interested in funding, which we get some clarity. Yeah. So, page 3. Page 3, the topic is funding. There's some bold font there. Just want to make sure everybody's clear on that, since funding is always a important part of the conversation. Make sure we have clear understanding. You can help me out with administration and funding. Appreciate it.
Yeah, so it is going to mirror the same organizational structure that existed, that currently exists, a director position and a program manager position. All of that will be, we're still kind of work out exactly where it's going to live within Louisiana Works, but in terms of the kind of everyday vision setting, working directly with the centers, I mean, we do have to keep the same structure that has been in place. It's just figuring out where exactly is going within the agency, but it'll be tied to workforce development at the agency, so it will live within that kind of broader ecosystem. But I think we're still working on.
We don't have specific people identified, if that's what you're asking.
Right.
Yeah, I'm just curious who these guys are going to be reporting to, you know.
So are we.
Administration.
Part of it too is, just to be frank, we are working with civil service to create the positions at our agency. So that's also part of the vision, like making sure where is that going. So I know that's not, I think, something that we just have to navigate. So we're currently working through that, but they will, I mean, essentially the structure will be the same. There'll be a director, program manager, and that's who everyone will interact on a day-to-day basis.
Okay.
That is the goal. And then in terms of the funding, I believe that was something that was already hard coded in there.
This is something that's been in place for both of the first 2 cycles, that because these are cooperative endeavors and not grant contracts, this is the cooperative part of the cooperative endeavor, in cash or in kind partnership agreement with the host entity, whatever the host entity might be. Typically, a cooperative endeavor is 100%. Each partner gives an equal amount. We set it at 60% to ensure that our partners can participate fully and not expect or demand the 100% participation.
But it's a function of the appropriation from the legislature.
Correct. It's a fund, is 60% of the amount that is distributed to the center.
So that's space or other in kind.
Right, exactly. So a lot of centers provide office space, provide access to facilities, whether that's lab space or meeting space. They'll provide, for teacher professional development, they'll provide some of the space and facilities needs for teacher professional development activities, things like that.
But if we were to go back to the legislature and request additional funding, then obviously that expectation would
The
increase.
share increase, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Wait, hold on.
All right,
At three.
there you go.
Go ahead.
Good morning, everyone, again. My questions are gonna be around, always the, inclusion of nonprofit organizations and their focus, in this process. Representing Seminole, Dr. Calvin Mackey, I would be remiss if I didn't bring up some of these issues. So let me just ask, my first question, and then I've got another as well. I saw a lot of focus here from the workforce perspective on, workforce versus employers, not versus, but workforce employer, connections and what have you there. I've heard the focus on bringing in education to the mix, as well. Wondering if there is a shift now at LA Works to also include or a vision of dropping the workforce definition to start at the lower level, since that is our focus of starting from K to grade. Is there going to be something stated there that will allow everyone to understand that, hey, workforce begins in kindergarten? And it really does, but it has not been clearly articulated that way. So I just want to be sure that as we shift to this new organization, that is a focus. And then secondly, with the regional needs assessment and the data-driven focus on the metrics, wondering if there's a template-based process for that will include some sort of guidance for the regional STEM centers to be able to evaluate nonprofit organizations programming, which is usually engagement-based, not assessment-based. We don't test kids when they come to our program.
Yeah.
But what we do is we measure the amount of engagement that those kids have in our program. And the way Dr. Mackey says it, if a kid comes to our program, stays 3 hours, learns a little bit about circuitry and force in motion, builds a car, that car is able to run, they can go back and tweak that car to make it run faster, then anybody who wants to know if that child learned something, they need to be evaluated, not the kid. Right? So just making sure that we've got those types of measurements in place so that everyone understands that there are multiple different types of evaluation and that community-based organizations typically do not engage in, or it's very difficult to engage in the typical evaluation that a school system or a school may perform.
So I'll address the first question and just briefly outline that our agency has set ourselves 3 primary goals as an agency as we move forward. So not within the LaSTEM space, this is our overall set of agency goals. The first is driving economic growth through business workforce solutions. So direct interactions with employers, understanding what they need, and then finding the workforce for them. That's a big part of what we're talking about with employer engagement in the earlier conversation. Second is increasing the labor force participation rate through integrating social services with workforce development. That's our One Door initiative, but that is the pathway to the American dream for people receiving social services, for other people who are not fully participating in the benefits of economic growth in Louisiana. And then our third goal is educational alignment, which is making sure that every young person who comes out of high school or higher education in Louisiana has the skills to be successful in the Louisiana economy. And we do talk all the time about how that starts in early childhood. So educational alignment is not just about the last 2 years of high school. That is absolutely explicitly as part of our agency mission, part of the conversation that's early engagement.
I would also add to that, what I've heard Susie talk about, which is this conversation about the importance of work and how we position work,
Yes.
right? How we talk about
Yeah.
being excited about work.
One of my absolute soapbox talking points is that we as adults do a terrible job of talking to young people about the world of work. And the example I always use is how we talk to our kids about just wait till you have a mortgage and wait till you have bills to pay. And we make being an adult and working sound like a burden, sound terrible. We don't talk about the joy that productive, meaningful work brings to our adult lives. And I think everybody in that room, that's exactly what I'm talking about, or you could be in this room. And so we need to do that as grown-ups, and we need to be talking to our young people about the joy that's available to them if they make good choices along the way, and think deeply about what it is that will hit that emotional, place inside them that makes something truly rewarding and meaningful.
Yeah,
Thanks, Deb.
yes, let me also add, the integration of this work. And the very good question you asked about, is LA Works thinking about this in a way that encompasses the people that we serve? So these are people who are championing or quality childcare as a workforce issue, right?
Yeah.
They're championing internship and apprenticeship with the Department of Ed as an early opportunity for people to see the beauty of work and the opportunity to be a part of that. They're championing filling the Louisiana jobs with Louisiana people from Meta, from Hyundai, etc. So there's a lot of promise here that I think is very important, and really will represent, the next iteration of really good work. So I am excited about it.
And I'd just like to add that this group of people over here do this every day. That is their work, that is their passion, that is their job. And that's one of the accomplishments of LaSTEM over the last 6 years with the regional centers, is the work that these people are doing to embed opportunity with students of all ages.
Yeah, I agree 100%. My question was based on the alignment of the department to the goals of LaSTEM. So I have no doubt that we're definitely participants in what happens with LaSTEM and with the work and with our Regional 1 Center, which does a great job. But wanted to make sure that is, like Ronnie mentioned, organizational chart down for the department at LA Works. Lists that, mentions it, puts the terms in their workflow, that workforce begins at kindergarten. And not so much that we're catering for students, high school and forward. The mention of children and that age group is going to be very important to making sure that there's that complete alignment. I guess the second question that I didn't get answered yet is the template issue regarding making sure that there is an inclusion of the various different types of assessments for data collection, as well as for the regional needs assessment, making sure that there are some specific requests for those particular items to include community-based organizations and their focus, which typically is different from education-focused initiatives.
Yeah, it is we will be putting together essentially a needs assessment book that we will provide to the designated centers to give them exactly the guidance of things they need to be looking for, organizations they should be connecting with if they haven't already. To, again, kind of comprehensively look at what the particular region might be. We probably will let a lot of the centers drive that once they have that playbook, that they have, they should have those connections in the region. But obviously we can give them some pointers of like, have you thought about these other stakeholders that they haven't passed? In terms of your question about the assessment, I think it's an appropriate one, right? I think making sure that what we're measuring is appropriate for the audience that is being served. Now, the broader call to action that we're going to have with the senators is that it doesn't just stop at one specific audience, right? And we have appropriate measures and outcomes in place for something that might be K through 12 focused, but they also should be working in adult kind of learning space and career readiness space and all that. So what are those appropriate measures? And we are going to be working to put together essentially a suite of all of those outcome metrics that we're looking for, so that there are shared definitions and shared understanding of like, when we say this is what we say an outcome. These are the things that we're talking about. So we're all measuring the same things the same way, essentially. But yes, all that will be template based. It'll be collaborative, as we kind of build all that out. But that is our plan.
Thank you. Good to hear.
And if I could just add something real quick, when we're talking about audiences, it has always been extremely important to me in this space that we are drawing more people into STEM. And so a lot of STEM programs that I've seen, not this, but a lot of STEM programs that I've seen make the mistake of engaging kids who are already in love with STEM. And that's a great thing, but to my mind, that is not the role of this work. This work is about expanding opportunity in STEM fields to people who may not see themselves there. So putting that spark of opportunity, helping people recognize themselves in STEM fields where they may not have done so previously is extremely important. And I think a lot of the work that y'all do.
100%. Thank you.
Right.
Yeah, I have questions about expectations, and if you could go back to the slide, what's next? When you talk about the need for a comprehensive regional assessment of workforce needs. So as the director of the Cane Center, I would not know if I have the personnel at the Cane Center to do a comprehensive regional workforce needs assessment. So for me, it sounds easy, sort of. But if I think about the details, I am not aware of an organization in the capital, the Baton Rouge area chamber, or who would have at the moment the document which talks about the comprehensive regional workforce needs assessment. So again, this is said, and we all agree that would be a beautiful thing to have. But my question to you is, when the rubber meets the road, so who do you think now at the regional centers is able to do a comprehensive regional needs assessment, workforce needs assessment? I think it is a great goal, it's a beautiful goal, it's a long-term goal. For crying out loud, who in the world is able to do this between now and January 2nd? So I don't know how to do this, and I don't know anyone who knows how to do this at dates.
So let me start, and then I'll force field to the workforce. So, talent here. We have engaged with Lightcast, and we're in year 3 of paying for Lightcast data for the state of Louisiana. The Lightcast data provides the exact assessment of the needs in each region of the state. We use the data, the campuses use the data in setting their 3-year academic plans. What Susie and Osmar have talked to me about is the data is a starting point, but not your full destination. So right now, the campuses take that data and they engage with the regional economic developer to say, is this right and is anything missing? Then the data is shared and the academic aspirations of new programs are shared with the state and regional, the state's economic development office and the Louisiana Works office. So that's the structure we've been doing for 3 years. So my belief would be that we would use the Lightcast data that we were already paying for as a state, sharing that with the centers, and then asking them to engage as we are already doing with the regional economic developers. But Susie or Osmar, let me know if there's something different that you're thinking there.
I mean, the one thing I do want to clarify is that our expectation would be that the needs assessment gets done over the course of the entire year. So once the center is designated come July 1 and that CEA gets executed, that first year is the runway for a regional needs assessment to be completed, which would then inform years 2 and 3 of destination of the work that's happening. So that certainly would not have to be done by January 2nd for an application. But part of the application process and the vetting process will be what is a STEM center's potential STEM center's applicant's plan to do that work over the course of the entire year. And to Commissioner Reed's point, it's not, we certainly don't envision this where it's just going to be, here's good luck, go do this for a year. I mean, we want to provide the resources, the data, the tools, anything that's necessary. I know some centers, I think, will be positioned to just kind of take the ball and run with that. Others, I think, to your point, will be board have support at the agency level.
And really quickly, as I think Dr. Reed said, and Osmar, the regional economic developers in your case, correct, are great partners.
So I'm not sure if I understood you correctly, what you just said, but what I heard is you saying is that for the first year, the main task of the regional STEM centers is to develop a regional workforce needs assessment.
It's not your own work during that year.
But your engagement with the tools and the information in year one will be important to make sure that you meet the mark around what the needs are, for sure. For sure. And there will be no one in this room that would expect you or anyone else to say, as Osmar has mentioned, here you go, good luck. We're gonna give you the tools that we already paid for the state of Louisiana, which is comprehensive labor market analysis by region, so that you can engage in that information with your regional individuals, whether it's the Baton Rouge Chamber, GNOE, the Lake Charles Chamber, etc.
And I'm just gonna say partly why we feel so strongly about this, because we very much value the current work of the STEM centers, but this is about a new layer of focus for the STEM centers. And you are not going to do the right work to target workforce needs in your region if you don't do the work to understand what they are.
I fully understand, and I think it is a good goal, and it's a good way to go. Again, a word of warning. The word of warning is that I would have to make personnel changes at the education center, because at the moment, I do not have people on staff who can do this type of work easily. So yes, it is a great goal. It's a very great thing, but not doable without adding other skills to the STEM center that is not there.
And that goes back to my question before about funding and scope, right? We need to understand what the scope is. So do we have adequate funding in place? And do we need to go to the legislature with additional funding requests? And if we do, who's gonna go to the legislature with that funding request?
I'm gonna say pretty plainly that this is not intended to be master's degree level economic research. This is intended to be a corporate planning level of research. And we've had a lot of internal conversations and with the Educational Forecasting Conference and so on about the differences between those types of analyses. But this should not require statisticians. That is not what we're looking for. We are, and you know, our community colleges are regularly engaged with this kind of work. And it is something where partnerships with regional economic developers, GRAC has a data room that I'm certain can provide resources here, but again, I don't believe that level of sophistication and you know, mathematical analysis is appropriate for something that is really much more targeted to using Lightcast data, having conversations with employers, having conversations with economic developers about what they need.
So if I'm understanding this correctly, and I agree with what you're saying, Secretary Shalin, is that you don't need master's level doctorates, economists to actually do this. You're pretty much going to try to collaborate between Lightcast database and Redo's regional reports and try to make a merger for a needs assessment, right?
Synthesis.
Yeah,
It's gonna be
so-
a synthesis approach.
And I agree with that. And I think that makes sense. My only question is, that'd probably be the simplest and easiest, and like you said, not having to hire additional people, somebody could merge that's just competent. But I remember that the Workforce Commission, I was in LA Works, they did this data gathering once every 3 years. So is that is that the same thing, or has it changed any? Is it?
So we have our occupational forecasting conference. Is that what you're talking about?
What was that? It was on the LA work, Yeah, it was the Workforce Commission, and you go to the different regions, and there was a,
Yeah.
or an LA, yeah,
Those-
a regional report.
Yeah, and all of that's federally mandated, so that work
Okay.
absolutely continues. And that data is actually what gets fed into Lightcast, they just make it a lot easier, slides of that.
And you know, one thing to add, if the term regional needs assessment is giving folks heartburn, I mean, also look at it as a strategic plan.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
I think we all feel strongly that everyone needs to kind of have a strategic plan in place of where do you, where do you. And that's really, to Secretary Shallon's point is, you know, I certainly don't envision this being a 30-40 page document deep dive into, you know, a particular region. It's very much just wanting to kind of attune and make sure that, hey, that every region has done the work of gathering the right stakeholders, they're attuning their work towards the right direction of what the region. Certainly don't want to, you know, give folks too much heartburn or whatnot about the term, perhaps the needs assessment. I mean, I would also look at it as probably just a strategic plan. That we would
And we will be here to help folks through it, but if I ask David what the top 3 workforce priorities are in Southwest Louisiana, he's gonna be able to answer that off the top of his head. And if I ask Lori Melanson what the top 3 workforce priorities are in the capital region, she can answer that off the top of her head.
Right, this is really about seeing yourself, it's really about taking work that is being done already. It's been in process for multiple years and seeing the centers within that. How do you synthesize the work of the centers with the needs assessments that have been going on, whether they're economic and workforce needs assessments, education needs assessments. That's the importance of the tri-agency partnership here. Is Regents is doing this work, LDOE is doing this work, Louisiana Works is doing this work, LED is doing this work, and it's to draw on all of those to see where the centers fit within these broader perspectives on these regions. And that's one of the reasons, excuse me, that when the regional centers were created, they were aligned with the regional labor market areas so that we're not recreating a map of Louisiana with different boundary lines. We're creating, we are recognizing the center.
I think your regional assessment.
From a STEM center perspective, I'm the only one who's had an economic development organization, which, you know, and I'll tell you that the Lightcast data and the individual strategic plans is something that we do, and it really is, as I said, it's not a difficult task. What I would like to suggest, as we're moving forward with how it works, is the possibility when there's a presentation, and as we start those plans, would it be possible for those who are selected to move forward and be stemmed out, you know, if we're continuing how we're doing this, to make sure that there are meetings set aside where there can be an understanding between those economic development organizations and leaders to know this is your STEM center director, this is how you work with them, and that this is a collaborative plan, because that may ease the minds of a number of people around and say, okay, we have a partnership here and for us to work together. I think that may be something to maybe add into the plan to make everyone comfortable with it.
I think that's fabulous, and I, you know, one of the things that we're gonna bring to the table here is the opportunity to bring some of those connections with economic development, with industry partners and so on to the table to provide those as resources. Well,
and thank you very much for all the information you shared. It's been very informative. Some of my questions got answered before other people started. I want to go a little bit back to Ronnie brought up the legislature. There's no change in the legislation yet, correct? So that is something that is coming up that needs to be done in the next round.
So, but currently the legislation has LaSTEM housed at the Board of Regents. So at a minimum, we'll come back to you with a recommendation that the legislation, that the LaSTEM legislation note that it is housed in LA Works. But we will do a deep dive of the legislation as well. But at a minimum, that would certainly, I think, happen.
Okay, so then I'm going to Frank for a moment. And that is my concern. I'm here as LSTA, LATM, looking at the K-12. And I look at what you're presenting, okay, we had LaSTEM 1.0 the first 2 years, we've had LaSTEM 2.0 for the next 6 years, and, you know, progression is important. We're advancing in the Department of Education, we're moving up in our standings in mathematics and all, and so these things have to occur. But I'm having a little problem going from updated foundation and expand with still only a staff of 1 director and 1 program coordinator when we're expanding. I mean, speaking as a person who is on the API Delta chapter board, I'm very excited about this, but wait a minute, I can't lose what's happening in K-12. I go to the mini conference in Ruston, I know the tremendous rural that's been developed by Jennifer, Mark's stuff with, you know, the robotics and the drones and things. Wait, you know, these students have to be prepared to be ready to go into internships and such. So any kind of thing that gets lost there becomes detrimental to what you want to do. And Susie has spoken to BG and other groups that have been very much behind all of that kind of thing, but updated and expand means there's gotta be something in the budget or personnel or staffing that is also without the idea of solid K-12 programs that have great numbers in your evaluations that, you know, are there. So I guess my question is funding and capacity for doing what you want. It's nice to say you've got this year, planning year before implementation. But as Frank said, wait a minute, if that becomes the primary, what happens to some things that have been 6 years of establishment that, you know, I go back and I remember what we heard about from, you know, the people who are 21st century, Andy and the program that they've developed up there. So I was delighted to hear us identify all the regions are different. You know, I live in the Metro New Orleans area, which is not Jennifer's district up there. So that was great, and I've heard good things about metric development for evaluation purposes, and I'm certainly thinking you're gonna work with your directors for what's appropriate to their region, so I feel good about that, but a word of concern.
Sure, and I am in no way opposed to going to the legislature and asking for more money. I'm not gonna do that this year, right? And part of really emphasizing outcomes in the data and a closer tie to the immediate needs of employers is to have ammunition to go and do exactly that. We're not gonna be able to do that plausibly unless we can show a direct and immediate benefit to our economy and to the opportunities for our people, but if we can't do that, I feel like it'll be a helping hand.
The other thing I would add is obviously Jamie's at the table, right? So we are integrating the work. We're not segregating the work or stacking the work in a way that says this doesn't matter anymore, but this does.
Right.
So when you think about the opportunities in the state and the 2-gen approach and the ability to serve, you know, students is, as Lauren said, if workforce starts in kindergarten, you think about the kindergarten program and the parent who comes to bring the child who hears about work opportunities in that region and how fantastic it will be for us to integrate those kinds of opportunities. So if you're in front of us, we can talk to you about multiple things, right? So I think that is certainly the vision. There is no interest here in saying Jamie's gonna stop her work and we're gonna only do LA Works. Or Carrie's gonna stop her work and we're only gonna do, it's a full integration of the work. But there are a lot of people, as you all know, and Mark, that are doing this work. So I don't see the responsibility or the request that the STEM centers now become economic developers and demographers and census takers and the things of that sort. But I do think that we're saying, let's help bring together the people who are doing those things in your region. So you have those kinds of partnerships and that kind of robust analysis to allow you to do even more. Here,
And You heard Osmar say that there's going to be emphasis on outcomes. But you can't have outputs and outcomes without inputs. And this end of the table represents the inputs.
And I wouldn't be sitting here and part of these conversations if I was unsure about this, right? I know, I understand it is change. I get that. I get that. But we are not, it's not the intention to lose the good work that has been taking place. That is not the intention. And so as we all have talked about it and kind of trying to hone in on, we have a solid foundation, all the programs and initiatives and things that we've been doing. It is my understanding that those things will still remain, and then we just continue, right? And Frank, to your point, that the tools and resources that will be provided by this organization and this triad here, I think it's going to benefit us all, right?
Okay, let me move us along, because I want to make sure we hear from, Bossier Parish Community College, from Heath, right? Oh, sorry, do you have a comment?
Yeah, so, I've worked in industry, I've worked at a community college, I worked at LSU, I've worked in a K-12 system. When we set up strategic plans and performance metrics, if you don't have certain activities in there in your performance metrics, it's gonna go by the wayside. So we don't have anything focused on the K-12, the nonprofit, we don't have any performance metrics there. So I would ask that, that we should have some performance metrics around what we do specifically to the patient.
Yeah, I do wanna, so those are three that we took and pulled out of the RFA, but there's a list of about a dozen.
Okay, but when you say this is the focus, and I understand what you're saying, but when we say this is the focus, so I'm looking at these and I'm.
Okay, page 6.
Yeah.
Performance expectations,
But are these the three that we have to do and then the others are included, or do we do that? And this is the reason I'm asking. The reason I'm asking
so
is
look
that.
at page 6 of the RFA.
Right, well, BRAC runs internships for this for Baton Rouge area.
Right.
We have the WIOA group here with Amanda Stanley. We have, I mean, so a lot of these things are already being done. So when I look at this, I'm not, yes, I can meet people yesterday for a tech roundtable. I can do that, but I don't have control over the internships or the employment. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I have no control over that as a STEM director. So I'm gonna be measured on things that I have no way to control or really truly influence at some points. You understand what I'm saying?
Well, I was trying to track your first comment, which is there's no K-12, so that's
Well, there
bullet
is.
1. There's
Well-
bullet 1, if you're looking at page 6, one more time, page 6.
We
of
don't
the RFA.
have
We don't have it. All right, so we'll get that over there to you.
Um,
And then your second question about employment outcomes. Go ahead.
So, and I wanna, I guess, clarify and make sure I'm understanding, Sandra. So your question is essentially, how can the center be held to account for metrics that they don't necessarily play a decision role in doing,
Yeah.
essentially?
Yeah.
So I think kind of going back to, the regional needs assessment, strategic planning process, I think again, reemphasize, every region is gonna be different, the needs are gonna be different, and to your point, in Baton Rouge area, the capital region, BRAC has market cornered when it comes to internships, so that may not be a space where the center that's designated here has to really do something about. In another part of the state, that may not be the case, and that might be something that the regional center decides, okay, that is something that we really want to double down on. Let's figure out how to do that, right? So I want to kind of caution that when I put it here, there's more of pulling out the things that are new and notable, along with the kind of more comprehensive list that still is aligned with some of the other metrics that have been historically tracked. But again, I think kind of going back to reiterate, every region is going to have to be different, and so going through that process of determining what are those what are my region's needs are going to help determine what the activities, the projects, and then thus the performance metrics look like.
And two, the way that the RFA is worded, the way that these metrics, the way that the measures will be counted is not. How many internships did you create? It's how many did you facilitate?
Right.
So did you meet with regional economic partners? Did you have discussions with BRAF? Did you have discussions with, well, I mean, he's obviously gonna be having discussions with GNOA, but that is part of it. Now, it's not necessarily a one-to-one. Did you talk with LDOE about getting internships in place? So it's those kinds of measures rather than a one-to-one. What economic development did you produce for your region? Give us a dollar amount, give us a number of internships created. That wasn't the intent, and that phrasing is to it.
In the RFA, it says facilitated opportunities, I believe is the exact language, so again.
It says must collect a report on the following indicators.
Correct.
And so like I said, so must collect a report for all of these different things. I mean,
Right. I'm just asked, my understanding was in listening to the presentation was that this really is expanding the collaborative role in the region in terms of how they're engaging multiple stakeholders, not just business and education, but also all of the educational entities that are a part of that region, and whether it be the community college or a university that is there, and how each of those entities are engaged. And the metrics that they would, my understanding was the metrics would depend on how they are amplifying opportunities in that to meet the American dream is, we talked about in terms of, are there more work-based learning opportunities expanding in our LCTCS system as well, because that's one of our metrics as well. But that was my understanding, that it's more of a collaboration and the result of all the things that are happening and working in that region, and how those entities are working together to expand.
And I think that's a wonderful articulation of where we're trying to go here. And ultimately, our goal is not to come behind people and play gotcha, right? That is not productive. What we are trying to do here is maximize the impact on the lives of our people. And these are things that we know do that. But as we keep saying, it's gonna look different in every region, and part of the point of the needs assessment is for our STEM centers to target those areas that are going to have the most impact. And so that's what we want to hold you accountable for, is identifying those areas of impact and then doing things that mean something in those areas. It's not about checking a box on a rubric.
So let me move us along. I want to remind you, I advance back to the slide around the RFA, because we want to ask for your approval of the RFA. This is not work that is changing the goalposts for existing programs and contracts that the regional centers are doing now, right? That work will complete at the end of this fiscal year. And the new RFA will start with the request for individuals who want to participate in the next round of LaSTEM. So I don't want any regional directors saying, oh my God, you know, January 1, LA Works takes over and now we move the goalposts. That's not the case. This is 8 years of work. We are now saying in 6 months, we will have new CEAs, July 1, new fiscal year. And this is the work that we want to do moving that forward. If there are specific things that you want to bring to Louisiana Works, we certainly welcome that. I think the document is solid, but obviously we want to continue to get better at what we do. But I did not want to cause any concern, any night terrors or sweat over on that side of the room, with people thinking that January 1st, we're starting with something new, right? This is only if you choose to apply under the new RFA.
Which we want you to do, and we are really fun and easy to work.
And then, of course, they changed their logo to the Good Hands people. So for those of us who recognize the Good Hands people, we know what that means, right? So I appreciate that new LA Works logo as well. So with that, I'm going to ask if there are any additional questions. If not, I'm going to ask for a motion to approve the request for application. And see if we want to do that. Yes, so awesome. Okay, we have a motion and we have a second. Any discussion further? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you all so much. Appreciate it. All righty, so now we move to the updates. Jennifer will help us with the update for Region 7.
Yes, next we have Dr. Heather Kleiner, Region 7 Center Director. She's going to provide us with an update of the center's transition from Cyport to Bossier Parish Community College and the impactful work that is ongoing. And floor is yours.
You need a quicker.
That's good.
Good afternoon, everybody. Well, good morning. Good morning. Thank you for having me. This is Jennifer Johnson, my second in command. And as you can tell, we work extremely well together. In fact, we think a lot. So we're showing you Region 7. And I wanted to tell you just briefly that it's wonderful to be back in higher education. If you didn't know, I came to Louisiana from MD Anderson Cancer Center. I was a cancer researcher, and I did this for over, 15 years, and was a faculty member there at LSU Health Shreveport. One of the things that I really espoused was student development. I worked with the BRF, and I really believed in the philosophy that we need to grow our own workforce. So while I was at LSU Health in the Department of Pharmacology, Toxicology, and Neuroscience, I co-founded 2 programs. One for undergraduate student internships, and it's still going on today since 2008. And another one for high school internships, because as I served on the Medical Admissions Committee, I realized students need to know about this way earlier, even earlier than high school, in fact. Speaking to you, Mr. Jackson. And so there was another program that we started, BioStart, high school internship from Southwood High School, where the students did their internships under the laboratories. And that one is still going on today as well. And so, again, thank you for the BRF for helping us to get that launched. And I point to Sarah Wolf because she was with the BRF. You still with the BRF? Yeah, they are a fantastic organization. And speaking to that, then I went on to Cyport Discovery Center so that I could work with even younger children because they need to start early. I did pop rockets with my granddaughter and she's not even 1 yet and she can hold a graduated cylinder. You need to be early and you need to be consistent. And once you're early and consistent with them, then they are going to be ready for STEM as their college and their careers. So here's the beautiful Dipsy campus. It is gorgeous. And it has so much peace and it's got birds. And you can record the birds. A mockingbird is a polyglottis. We get the epigram from the Cornell Lab of Ornithology. And the notes page will mention the different two-year college or industry-based credentials, over 14 different programs. I got to witness crane training. The guys are running this object from a crane through an obstacle course in the giant building out. The ceiling is way up there. And they have lathe after lathe after lathe, CNCs. It's like a playground for me. And they're training our next generation of career technical education students. There's the FAME program, the only one of its kind, where they're training students to learn how to be responsible in the workforce. And that means showing up on time, doing the work. Learning the coursework on top of that. So there are many different really cool things that are going on at Bossier Parish Community College, but of course, this isn't just about BIPC. It's about the entire Northwest Louisiana. And yes, we will be hosting summer camps for kids, and we're choosing, do we want to do Astro Camp, Energy Camp, maybe, aeronautics camp, lots of different possibilities. And we did get the opportunity to do the Sea Perch Underwater Robotics Program, double the number of kids we requested this year. Because of that, Kim Kaufman actually came for the first time ever to hold a workshop. That was Saturday. We had 100% occupancy. Every person who signed up showed up, 15 out of 15, and they completed that. This is Hunter Brown, Dr. Hunter Brown of Riverdale Academy in Buchanan. First time we've ever had a Red River Parish educator participate. And he went to the Region 6 training, thank you, because he was closer. But he just can't get enough. Now he wants to do every program we have available. And these are the educators that I just love. Another opportunity. Many of us from Louisiana went to the STEM Learning Ecosystems Community of Practice up in Washington, D.C. 2 weeks ago. And actually, Northwest Louisiana, I am co-founder of the North Louisiana STEAM Alliance, which in a Venn diagram has some overlap, but it's a separate entity, a cohort of STEM Learning Ecosystems that joined in 2016 as the second year cohort. And so I've known Dr. Gil Nolan for many, many years. And he had a breakout session along with Kristen Lewis Warner from Partners in Education and Resilience. And you may have heard of them, but they're an evaluation metrics group at the Harvard McLean Institute. And we struck up a collaboration or potential collaboration should BIPC decide to take up on them. It's a different one. So right now, we've worked with the Dimensions of Success, which has 4 pillars and evaluates a program, not the person teaching it necessarily, but the whole overall effectiveness of a STEM program. Then there's the Common Instrument Suite, which many of us have used, which affects the longitudinal effect on a student of a program. We've reported on that and demonstrated increased STEM identity for the students. But what he has now is a program that has 5 pillars and will be used to help determine whether there's a student readiness to join a program like FAME. FAME is paid for by the employers. We don't want attrition because if they fail, you only have limited spots. So we hope that we get the right students in. So this is really not all up to me. It's a collaboration. He's willing to do that pro bono so that we can pilot the program. We're excited about this. And then over here, you will see what are cancer cells. These are cells that are from the cytology person that came and spoke to you a few months ago, Mr. Bouvier at Ochsner in the anatomic pathology lab. So we have now made inroads. I connected Mr. Bouvier with Jacques Lassane from LA Works. And when I spoke to Jacques at the CTE committee a few weeks ago, I said, Jacques, we have a problem here. Ochsner went 2 years without a cytologist, meaning they did not have anybody to analyze pap smears, fine needle aspirates, anything that has to do with cells instead of tissue blocks. And so these are people who analyze for cancer, infection, viruses, inflammation, etc. And so Mr. Bouvier came over to do this job. He's now the supervisor, and he's training residents and fellows. The fellows are coming in to specialize. The fellow had to go to Baylor, Scott, and White for their job because all the jobs were already filled at Ochsner. The resident loves it so much they want to do this. Now, what is the benefit of having your own cytology training in the state? Well, you have a faster turnaround time. For the patient, that means not sitting on pins and needles waiting 3 weeks for Quest to send it off to Dallas They can get you results sometimes the same day, but usually within 3 days. That's their turnaround time. More jobs in state. Louisiana is only one state among 3 in the union that requires their own certification along with the national certification. And so when they tried to recruit somebody from Wisconsin, this person would not come because the pay was not high enough. Well, the reason is, well, they're accustomed to the higher price of living outside of the state. The people here in the state tend to want to stay with families and are accustomed to the lower cost of living. And getting their license within the state means they have a selective advantage to stay. So when I talked to Jock about this, I said, Jock, it's not just about the high wage of $70,000 to $100,000 for somebody with a 5-year degree. But it's not just about that. It's about the infrastructure. You need the couriers. You need the finance people. You need the people to code. There are all sorts of jobs underneath that job that they need. So he was super excited, said, give it to me in bullet point. I did that. I sent it to Mr. Bouvier. He shared it with his supervisors. They are super excited. So now I made the link. Ball's in this hand. I'll keep you updated. Educator engagement. We have offered space at BIPSI for the Praxis Energize. No, wait, it's a
The Energize Initiative, yes.
Energize, okay, every Saturday. Every Saturday. Yes, every Saturday, 14 of us come in and I'll lock the door and let these people in.
I've learned a lot. I'm not taking the praxis though.
And then Christy Landry came over and did the ML Bots workshop. So that was great. And then, Jennifer, I'm gonna let you talk about what happened at Benton Middle School, because this, I think, is the first time that the Congressional App Challenge has been taken up on it. Even Mike Johnson's office wrote back to that.
So, for like, I don't know, 8 years, I used to travel, as a ed tech coach to schools. And I was always trying to get to enter these things like the Congressional App Challenge. How easy is that to just apply what you've already done, maybe even tweak it a little bit, right? And the whole goal of that challenge is really just to get kids interested in using technology to solve a problem. It does not, it can just be a prototype. It does not have to be anything major. And so finally, I'm so excited, finally this year, a teacher did have some students that wanted to enter, and these 3 little girls entered, from Bossier. And they wanted, theirs was, they called it Safer Connections. And last summer, there was a big power outage that I don't know all of the electrical terms, but it was basically for a specific reason, something about the power company had to do something with the power. And they did not inform everybody. And so people, it was a Saturday, people were out doing stuff, and all of a sudden all the power's out, and then everybody's like, gets an alert. Oh yeah, it's just supposed to be out for a little while. It was out like 8 hours. And so grocery stores were throwing away food. All of these people, like TVs got messed up and ovens got messed up because of surges when it came back on. So these little girls had an idea that there should be an app that information could be pushed out to, like, what if a kid is home after school, but they don't have, like, one of the little girls, they don't have a phone. They have a phone at home that's a home phone that they can't take anywhere or whatever. But like if they had an app that gets pushed out, if they're home alone for a few hours, they would be able to get this alert and know that, oh, the power's gonna be out. Maybe mom and dad have now prepared for what to do when the power's out for 8 hours unexpectedly, I don't know. But also they thought about one of them's grandmother had a problem when all the power went out. Like she couldn't use some of the equipment she needed to use at home. So then they had to bring her somewhere else to another person's house. So they had a lot of amazing ideas. They even wanted to be a Alexa can announce it. I'm like, okay, that's great. But they had a lot of great ideas. So they did their prototypes, and their idea now is to go further and do the presidential AI challenge and develop further. And one of the dads works in the computer science industry, so he's volunteering to help them go a little further with it, so they have a great time.
Thank you, Jennifer. We do have a lot of irons in the fire, but to keep this short, I just wanted to mention that the first, Louisiana has grown really fast in North Louisiana. Jennifer is our first Louisiana guru here, so I will let her briefly summarize this.
55% increase over the 20 teams participating in 2023. So we are like getting a lot of teams. A big piece of that puzzle is BPX Energy has a grant and works with Louisiana, Mississippi, and it's only in 3 parishes that have to be in our region. So I work with them to help recruit teams, and of course it does help that they're getting their equipment paid for and their entry fees paid for, but we do professional developments with them, and I try to help them throughout the season a whole lot. So.
Right, and we have 2 first robotics competition teams as well. So we will be ready with first. We thank very much Carolyn Arthurs and Annette Ertling for all of their support, as well as Louis Jackson. We will be here tomorrow. So we thank you again for having us. Is this yours?
That's fine.
I'm so sorry. Thank you for you.
Really appreciate the enthusiasm and good work. And we heard about potential cancer lab position, teacher prep position. So the workforce folks were smiling because they heard a lot of workforce in that presentation, as well as K-12 and all the partnerships. So really appreciate that. Let me just mention one other thing before we mention the great conference tomorrow. Heather, I had an opportunity, you all know we get a chance to go around the state and see the amazing work happening in the regional centers. And Dr. Kleiner invited us to go and see the STEM program they did with fathers behind bars and their children. And it reminds me that we have to think about talent development for all. So Madam Secretary and I tomorrow will be visiting prison education programs. We know that at least 90% of people incarcerated across this country get out. And so again, this idea of 2-generation approach, STEM approach, workforce alignment, education, and how do we think about this work? So as you were presenting, Heather, I thought about how amazing it was for me to see the dads working with their children in just a phenomenal program, and how supportive the staff at the facility was to have that participation as well. So very well done. Yes.
That program has come with me to Bossier Parish Community College, because it needs to be in good hands. And the ones that are genuine in implementing the program who founded it.
Right.
We're just getting all the documentation done, and yes, we've spoken to the NSF twice now about expanding it. I'm super excited about that, and Boston University has asked us to write a book chapter on it.
Cool. There you go. All the things. All right, almost there, Jennifer.
Well, Heather beat me to it. We just wanted to share a quick announcement that LaSTEM and all of the regional STEM centers will be exhibiting at the upcoming LATM LSTA conference tomorrow and Friday at the Raising Cane's River Center. Since we did not hold our annual LaSTEM Summit this year, our partners at LATM and LSTA graciously offered to provide us with a presence at this conference to maintain visibility and engagement. So here with us today are Jean May Brett and Tom Brett, representing both organizations. And would you like to share a few words?
I'd be thrilled to, and I do appreciate all the extra time you'll be giving with us. One of the things that happened 3 years ago with this idea of STEM is that math and science put their conference together. And it worked very well. We have chemistry and algebra 1 teachers that can present together. We have elementary teachers who show the integration of the mathematics, the English language arts, and the science. So it's been very, very successful. Principals like it, teachers are only going to one conference. So exhibitors like it, they only coming to one conference. But more importantly is the enthusiasm and the inspiration that the teachers in math and science are able to take away because of their exchanges. We have a lot of support from business. I mentioned earlier, API Delta chapter is one of the sponsors, along with Shell, along with some of the other groups like CLECO. Understanding again the importance of meeting the teacher to prepare the students for the skills that they will need. This is an event that happens every so often. Last year, national science teachers came to New Orleans, so we could do the joint event. We'd love to have any of you and all of you come. I think Ronnie's coming by. I've kind of twisted Kim's arm a little bit to try to get her. Would love to have you. And it does start at 8 o'clock on Thursday morning, run through the day. We will do award presentations to outstanding teachers of both disciplines, along with the final state finalists for the presidential awards. Unfortunately, the current administration has done away with the presidential awards for excellence in mathematics and science teaching. So this is the last year we will be honoring them under the old program. We're hoping they can get an updated, expanded program in the future. And then Friday, we are there half day. We are at the Raising Cane's River Center, and I'd be very happy to make sure any of you who might be interested are greeted and given an opportunity to go to sessions, meet with the exhibitors, or simply talk to the teachers. And we will have robotics students there with some of their stuff. So we've got the technology, drones and everything else. And if you don't mind, Kim, one other quick announcement, because Robin sits on this, we have a member of the Board of Regents on it, the Quality Science and Math Grant Program this year. We have awarded $150,000 to teachers of science, math, STEM, engineering, computer coding. I can send you the list of names if anyone is interested in that, showing what the grade levels are and where they're from. So we continue that legislative program with the help of several people who are on this committee.
You know, not just a LaSTEM meeting, it's a LaSTEM pep rally, right? All right, so is there any other business to come before the LaSTEM? If not, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second? No opposition? We are adjourned. Thank you very much. Thanks to spare. So fun.
Amy, see you soon.
I'll take some. I hope.
No,
I did say, okay.